This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
And welcome to the program. I'm Roby Brock. We are glad to have you with us. A little over 2 months ago, as the pandemic swept across Arkansas Community Foundation marshaled its resources to pool together money to help nonprofits in need. Heather Larkin, CEO of the Arkansas Community Foundation, joins me for a conversation. Heather, it is good to have you with us. Let's begin with, for those that don't know the background of the Arkansas Community Foundation, what exactly does the foundation do when times are normal, when we're not besieged by a pandemic?
Sure. The Community Foundation is a statewide grant-making foundation that works in all 75 counties across the state. We've been doing this work for almost 45 years, and we are a grant maker, and we make two types of grants. We make our foundation-directed grants, where we make the decision and deploy assets. And then we also work with Arkansans and donors, both corporate and individual, from all over the state to direct their charitable dollars so that they have the greatest impact for our donors. So we are a grant maker working both with what we call unrestricted grant making assets and then restricted grant making assets that make an impact across the state.
So tell me how you all adapted when you saw what was unfolding with the coronavirus pandemic here in Arkansas.
The Community Foundation generally does not work in disaster relief. Unfortunately, the Community Foundation does have a little experience with that in Arkansas. We've activated an emergency fund over the years when we had the tornado in Dumas quite some time ago, the tornado in Faulkner County a while back, the oil spill in Mayflower, and then, of course, the flooding in northeast Arkansas. So we did have some experience. On March 13th or so, as the pandemic began to fall on the state, we began conversations on what we might do. On Monday of that next week, we convened, and while we went into modified operations, we also decided it was time to deploy our disaster relief fund. So we created the Arkansas COVID-19 Relief Fund, and the Community Foundation put in $130,000 so that we could start to respond immediately to the nonprofits that we knew would be doing frontline services. At the same time, we start raising money for that fund. We put in some, we start to deploy it, but we begin to ask Arkansans to also support the fund. And so money's coming in as we're getting ready to deploy it. And by the end of that very week, we had a grant application up and running, and nonprofits were applying for what we call our Phase 1 Rapid Response funding.
You've handed out 678 mini grants of $1,000 each to nonprofits across the state of Arkansas. Tell me, what were the purposes of these mini grants, and how are they being used?
Yeah. So our first, what we call Phase 1, those were our rapid response grants, and those were to be quick and get out to the nonprofits across the state. We did almost 700 of those grants immediately and deployed those. And nonprofits were using them from everything from purchasing PPE to purchasing food for food pantries to creating information pieces in Spanish to get out the word to our non-English speaking communities. There were just all sorts of uses that nonprofits were trying to adapt very quickly. And we were able to get that grant application up. It was very simple. It was very easy. They applied within 5 or 6 days. We would have those approved and have a check in the mail and back out to those nonprofits so that they could get to work. So that was our rapid response. And then we moved into, of course, our second phase later.
Phase 2 grants range from $5,000 to $25,000. They're being awarded pretty much as we speak right here, the end of the month, first of the month. Tell me, will some of the same recipients receive some of that money?
It could. By being a rapid response grantee, it did not disqualify you for applying for the adaptation grant because we knew that some of the nonprofits had different needs. The adaptation grants are larger, $5,000 to $25,000, and are a little more work intensive. Of course, we need more background and more information and more due diligence to deploy those assets. So we have just recently awarded 120 of those grants for almost $1.9 million. And those uses range anywhere from economic development, again, working with children and education, food and PPE, all types of things.
Your organization has helped with just a little under $3 million so far. Tell me, how great do you think the need is, and will there be a phase 3?
Yes, we have granted a little over $2.6 million. We received just the other day $6 million in requests. So the need is great, and there's no way that we can respond to all of those. But we do have a little money left in the COVID fund, and of course people can continue to give and money continues to come in. We are trying to develop a phase 3. We don't know exactly what that will look like. We think there may even be a phase 4 as we move through the pandemic. So we are at work on that. We are surveying our nonprofits in the next week or two to try to get some more feedback on what their needs are and how we might move into phase 3.
This is in some ways a departure from what the Arkansas Community Foundation normally does. Not that you're not always helping raise money and manage money for nonprofits, but this has been so singularly focused. Do you think that this changes your mission going forward? Will this change the way that the Arkansas Community Foundation operates post-pandemic?
No, this does not really change the way we plan to operate. This is why we exist, and that's what we've been saying. We are here for our communities. We're here to build stronger, more resilient communities, and the needs there, pandemic or not, that work is still important. Certainly the pandemic brings a lot of our vulnerabilities to the surface and a lot of work to be done, but the Community Foundation will continue the work that it's been doing for 40 plus years in this state, which is getting grants out to nonprofits who are doing frontline work and really making our communities better places to live. So that will continue. Certainly we hope to be responsive. We hope to have resources that will help with the pandemic and with the next disaster. But our day-to-day work will stay the same, which is building stronger communities by engaging people and connecting resources and really inspiring those solutions that make our state a better place to live.
She's Heather Larkin, CEO of the Arkansas Community Foundation. Heather, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Roby. Take care.